Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight, the camp of former President Rodrigo Duterte gets its first legal letdown. The Supreme Court has denied a request to stop the government from cooperating with the ICC, which ordered Digong's arrest.
Now, speaking of Duterte, he has yet to arrive in the ICC's headquarters in the Netherlands. We are tracking his plane's movement, and we will show you where it is at the moment.
And a show of support for Digong from his inner circle. His daughter and son are Hague bound for a visit, while his former top cop and now Senator Bato de la Rosa said he is, quote, ready to join Duterte.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte is still on his way to The Hague in the Netherlands. The chartered private plane carrying the ex-chief executive left Villamor Air Base at around 11 o'clock last night. And according to publicly available data, the Gulfstream G550 aircraft with tail number RP C5219 has a flight plan from Manila to Dubai, then to the Rotterdam airport in the Netherlands. The plane landed in Dubai after a flight time of 9 hours at 4 a.m. local time or just past 8 a.m. Manila time.
Former President Duterte's plane was scheduled to depart Dubai after refueling after an hour, but that layover took nearly 8 hours. Allies of the former president took to social media to provide updates on his situation.
And here, Duterte is shown with his police escorts taking his vital signs during the flight. Senator Bongo also shared photos of Duterte while waiting out the Dubai layover with former Executive Secretary Salvador Mejaldea, and while having lunch on the way to The Hague.
Duterte's plane finally left Al Maktoum International Airport just before 4 p.m. Manila time, headed to the Rotterdam International Airport. Now, with that delay in Dubai, the flight's time of arrival is not currently known. But public flight apps can track RPC 5219 and give us some data on its whereabouts. And Pawi will now show us how to navigate that app. Pawi.
Well, you know, Sean and says, if you take a look at Flight Radar 24, it's actually the most tracked flight right now on the website. So it just goes to show the whole world is monitoring Mr. Duterte's flight on the way to The Hague in the Netherlands. But let's take a look here on the screen. The flight that the former president is taking is RPC 5219. That's the Gulfstream G550 jet. That's the orange plane that you can see on your screens. It just crossed the Red Sea from Saudi Arabia and is already now in the territory of Egypt. But let's take some notes over here. This is a chartered flight, and chartered flights don't typically follow the usual routes of, let's say, commercial flights or the route determined. It is a route determined by the charter operator and can be adjusted in real time by the air traffic control, meaning they are not limited to specific routes, unlike scheduled flights, because they offer flexibility when it comes to the destination, the departure, and arrival points. But as we can see here, it is already on its way to the European continent. The Netherlands is located in Western Europe. It's over here, and it's sandwiched between Belgium and Germany. It is a small country, and important to note here right now, if you take a look at the times here, it left Dubai at 11:58 a.m. just 3 hours ago, and it still has about 5 hours left in its flight on the way to the Netherlands. So the estimated time of arrival of the flight is 5:23 p.m. That's local Dutch time. So if you look at it at a local time, that's just a little bit past midnight Manila time. That's March 13, 2025. So we will be keeping up with the flight of the former president. But this is actually pretty accessible for people online. Just go to Flight Radar 24. And as I mentioned earlier, it is the most tracked flight right now. And we will see and we will keep monitoring the situation as the former president nears his final destination.
All right.
Wow,
actually,
so many airplanes actually.
Yes, yes. You know what? Last night was the first time that I actually used this to not check on my personal flight and to check on or my family members.
I never use it.
So So
Does
you
that
can
mean I'm
actually
old?
No. It means you're on time in the airport. You're not like stuck in traffic, wondering like me, like there's a plane there. Because sometimes the planes can be
right.
late, so you know you have some leeway. But then sometimes you know they're early.
Interesting.
And that's how many planes are actually currently in the air right now. But ever since last night, you're right, Pawi, it's most current track, the most
Yeah.
tracked plane
Yeah.
on planet Earth
Yeah.
since last night.
Since last night. I mean, if you go to the website, it's the #1. You don't even have to type the flight details, RPC
comes out
5219.
immediately.
It comes out immediately. But I also wanted to, I forgot to note that earlier. Once the president reaches Rotterdam in the Netherlands, it's still about a 30-minute drive to the ICC's headquarters at The Hague.
Okay. What? It's not been clear though. What led to the long layover? Have
Yeah,
you-
well, some people are
hours
saying
speculating.
that it's not just refueling because if you ride a private plane, you need to get
permits.
clearances, the
Okay.
permits and all of that. That can take a while. And also that, I guess that's one of the reasons why they took a while too, taking off from Manila.
Right.
Right.
So now, the question is, what happens when former President Rodrigo Duterte is finally in the International Criminal Court's custody? Camille Samonte with the report.
This is the International Criminal Court's detention facility in The Hague, the Netherlands, where former President Rodrigo Duterte could be staying. No sharing among prisoners of each space, which has its own comfort room, television, and intercom. There's a gym where inmates could play sports and engage in recreational activities. There's a library, even a computer, only it does not have internet connection. The desktop's sole purpose is to store information and documents where the detainee can pore over details of his case. The facility has its own medical room as well, and visitors are welcome. Per ICC rules, prisoners are served meals 3 times a day, but there is a common kitchen in case they want to cook on their own. But Duterte won't be heading straight to this facility located in the outskirts of The Hague. According to Malacanang, the former chief executive has to go to a local court first upon arriving in Rotterdam.
Alamin kung tama ba yung proseso ng pag-arrest. At kapag ka po na-validate, na sinabi naman na tama ang pagkakadala sa kanya sa bansang kung saan siya dadalhin, idadali na po siya sa dahig, sa ICC.
Once Duterte is in ICC custody, pre-trial will commence over the charge of crimes against humanity of murder connected to his infamous war on drugs. And while ICC proceedings are pending, the former president has the right to apply for temporary freedom. At the moment, there is no information yet on how long the pre-trial will take. But as soon as that's over, the trial of Duterte will immediately begin at The Hague if it ever reaches that stage. Proceedings are usually made public, but the ICC also takes into account the health and security of victims and witnesses. Fast forward to the final phase. What happens if Duterte is found guilty of the crime? The ICC says he will have to serve his sentence in a prison outside of the Netherlands in a state that recognizes the International Tribunal. Usually, according to the palace, jail time could extend for years.
Based on the law, the penalty could reach up to 30 years imprisonment. But it depends upon the defenses that can be availed of by the former president.
And it also depends if the ICC's 5-stage process will be exhaust. After all, there is still that chance that Duterte could walk free and return to the Philippines should the International Criminal Court decides to junk his case. For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
Back here at home, the Duterte camp is exploring all legal remedies to bring the former president back to Davao. But no relief for them for now. The Supreme Court has denied the petition for a temporary restraining order, or TRO, against Duterte's arrest. The tribunal ruled that the petitioners failed to show clear and unmistakable right, warranting immediate injunctive relief. Following a virtual deliberation on the 94-page petition, the High Court instead directed the respondents to submit their comments within the prescribed time frame, signaling further legal scrutiny of the case. Despite this, the legal battle escalated today as 2 separate petitions for a writ of habeas corpus were filed before the High Court. The petitions were filed on behalf of half-siblings Baste and Kitty Duterte, seeking a judicial order compelling the respondents to produce their father and justify his alleged illegal detention. In response, Chief Justice Gismundo ordered a special raffle, assigning the cases to a member in charge for appropriate action.
Sila ang lumabag ng batas. Kinuha nila pwersahan ang presidente. Isinakay nila sa eroplano laban sa kanyang kalooban. Dinala nila sa isang bansa. Ang gobyerno ay meron pa rin kasalanan kahit saan ka magpunta, you are still bound by your illegal acts.
The Justice Department again defended Duterte's arrest, saying due process was followed and all procedural safeguards were observed to protect his rights. The palace, meanwhile, had this to say on the petitions filed by Duterte's children.
Normally po, usually po, kapag ka po yung tao ay nasa ibang bansa na po at nadala na po, nagiging moot and academic yung issue. But depende pa po rin yan sa Supreme Court. Hindi po natin pwedeng pangunahan kung ano po ang magiging decision ng Supreme Court dito.
Now let's discuss Duterte's legal battle further. And joining us tonight is Attorney Raul Lambino. Attorney, I'll go straight to the point. You were the source of a false news report yesterday about the TRO being issued by the Supreme Court. What led you to give media interviews about this?
Good evening, Cess. Good evening, Sean, and good evening, Pauline. Last night, we received a call that the Supreme Court will act on the urgent motion and manifestation filed by Attorney Torion. So Attorney Torion asked me to accompany him in the Supreme Court, and we were expecting that an order will come out to restrain the government from proceeding to punish or exile the former president, and so we have to rush and go back and go to the Supreme Court. So we were hoping that we can get an order last night, and unfortunately, we were not able to get one. So we have to go back to Villamor after more than an hour of stay in the Supreme Court, as we haven't able to get any order from the High Court last night.
But why say that there was a TRO issued?
Well, what we say is that Attorney Torion informed me that most likely we can get a TRO, so we are going to the Supreme Court, and that's what we did last night.
I believe I heard your ambush interview outside the gates of the Supreme Court, Attorney Lambino, and you said you got reports and medyo you guys believe the source of that report. Kaya kayo tumuloy sa SC para maghanap ng hard copy. I guess we were wondering who that source was because we were seeing it as well dun sa mga comments ng mga live stream.
Yes. Yeah, that's what Attorney Torion told me because he is the one that is communicating, being the lead counsel in the petition that was filed. So Attorney Torion and I were in the Supreme Court. I am not going there without the lead counsel who filed the petition on behalf of the former president and
So sino
Senator
po yung
Bato
source?
de la Rosa.
Sino po yung source?
I really don't know. I have no idea. It was Attorney Torion who was the one communicating to anybody there in the Supreme Court. So I have no direct contact as far as I'm concerned. I'm just relying on what Attorney Torion has given me that information.
Pero Attorney,
That
ganun
we
po
we could possibly get an order, a TRO. And so because things are already unfolding in the Villamor, that there were already moves to ship the president illegally to wherever they would want to bring him. So we really have to move fast, and we are hoping that we can get an order. Unfortunately, we did not get anything yet.
Ayun na nga po, Attorney, the Supreme Court did not give out a TRO last night and not even today. They said
Yes.
that you failed to establish a clear and unmistakable right for the immediate issuance of a TRO. Ano po ang response niyo po doon sa Supreme Court, Attorney?
Well, we are happy with that kind of decision, the language used by the Supreme Court, because had they issued a denial of our urgent manifestation and motion for the issuance of a restraining order on the ground that the matter is already moot and academic since the former president had been shipped out of the country, then we are not going to file any more motion for reconsideration. I have just conversed with Attorney Torion, who is the lead counsel, and we discussed the merits of this order of denial by the Supreme Court. and we are going to file immediately a motion for reconsideration of the order of denial that we received today.
There are legal experts who say, your petitions are moot. After all, the president, former president, is already in the jurisdiction of the ICC.
Well, are you referring to the original petition that was filed and
All these actions,
that
all these actions, even if they're perhaps a rule, the rule in your favor, well, the president is already in under jurisdiction of the
No.
ICC.
It cannot become moot because we are talking here of a constitutional right of a person who is illegally arrested, who is arbitrarily detained, and who is kidnapped and shipped to
But
somewhere
there's
else.
a warrant of
And-
arrest. There's a warrant of arrest po. How can you say that he's
No,
been kidnapped?
that warrant of arrest was the one being used as basis for the illegal arrest that was made was issued by a body that has no jurisdiction here in the Philippines, as we are no longer member of the International Criminal Court. So that particular warrant has no validity. It is void as far as Philippine law, as far as our judicial system is concerned.
So, Attorney, may nakikita po ba kayong legal remedy na mapapabalik pa ang dating Pangulo dito sa bansa, considering he's already on his way to the Netherlands? I mean, is still that a possibility?
Well, that is the reason why Attorney Panelo, acting on behalf of his clients, the daughter of the former president and the son mayor Bato Duterte, filed separate petitions for habeas corpus this morning, I understand. And because it was illegal for the government to exile or banish or surrender the president to an entity or an agency that is no longer considered to have a sovereignty or that's jurisdiction over a Filipino citizen. And so the purpose of the habeas corpus is for the Philippine government to explain why they committed this illegal act of arresting, of detaining, and of kidnapping and bringing to another country a Filipino citizen who is beyond the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court, pursuant to the non-membership anymore of the Philippines with the International Criminal Court. So that is the contention. That is our contention, that it is the obligation of the Philippine government now to bring back the person that they have illegally shipped out of the Philippines to another country.
And
so that is the purpose of the habeas corpus.
And that is why Attorney Panelo, in interviews given earlier today, as well as Attorney Torreon, they were saying bahala na ang gobyerno dyan. That's exactly what they mean by that, right? When they say that.
Of course, we have to rely on what the government is going to say. And when I say the government, we're referring now to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court of the Philippines will be the ultimate entity that can make a decision as to whether our petitions have a legal basis. It's within the constitution of our country. And we do believe that we are in the right direction. Our position is legally tenable. It is not the ICC that will decide the fate of any Filipino citizen if ever there are crimes that have been committed in the Philippines, because we have an existing legal system that is functioning. We have our courts that are functioning. We have already tried and even convicted a former president, and there was even another president who was incarcerated. And we have some senators that were even incarcerated for similar heinous crime. And so we have an existing law and legal system that's functioning. The International Criminal Court can only come in areas or countries that have no functioning legal system, which is contrary to what we have in the Philippines.
Attorney, I'm wondering, were you able to talk to a former Executive Secretary Bingbong Medialdea at any point in time? We just wanted to figure out, to get a handle on what happened, and eventually sumama si dating Pangulong Duterte doon sa mga police at sumakay sa eroplano, and it looked pretty peaceful actually. A lot of people are also saying it's by the book. Would you know ano yung that thing, the linchpin?
It wasn't by the book. The president did not want to leave the country. He was forced to board the plane against his will, and there was no voluntary action on the part of the former president to go with what the Philippine National Police had done against him and against his rights. So, while there's no recourse for Executive Secretary Mijaldel but to accompany the former president in that particular, journey that we believe was really done illegally.
Have you spoken to him, former?
No. I wasn't able to talk to him, but there were communications made by the former executive secretary with some of his friends here in the Philippines. But I do not want to quote what are the things that they have discussed because I have no personal information. I just heard from friends of the former executive secretary of how the situation is unfolding while they were going in the Middle East on the way to wherever, maybe in the Netherlands, I don't know.
Fair enough.
And attorney, well, while you are seeking legal remedies with the Supreme Court here domestically, I mean, you already have the former president on the way to the Netherlands for the pre-trial doon po sa ICC. Sino po ang magiging legal defense team ng dating Pangulo doon? Kayo po ba ay susunod din sa Netherlands?
No, I'm not. I'm not going there. But if I go there, I would just visit the former president. But I'm pretty sure that legal teams are already being assembled, and that's the reason why Vice President Sara left this morning, going to the Netherlands to visit her father and to talk to the team of lawyers who will help handle the case in the Netherlands.
All right, we thank you so much for your time, Attorney Raul Lambdino.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, Senator Bato de la Rosa finally makes his presence felt several hours after former President Duterte was arrested. The details of that when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
You're watching the big story here on One News.
Former President Duterte's children, Vice President Sara and Congressman Pulong, are off to the Netherlands to be with their father. VP Duterte arrived in Dubai around 5 p.m. Philippine time. From there, she's hopping on another plane that will take her to Amsterdam. The Office of the Vice President confirmed her travel around 7:40 this morning. It also said VP Sara will be talking to lawyers once there for their next course of action. Just this afternoon, the Vice President changed her Facebook cover photo and profile photos into a red ribbon with the words, "Bring PRRD home," with the signature Duterte fist. Meanwhile, House Secretary General Reginald Velasco confirmed that Davao 1st District Representative Pulong Duterte submitted a request for a travel clearance last night. The document indicated that it's for a personal trip to the Netherlands and Japan from March 12 to April 15, and all expenses will be personally shouldered by Pulong. The clearance was approved today at 1 in the afternoon.
And Senator Bato de la Rosa finally breaks his silence through a Facebook post just hours after the public was busy looking for him everywhere while his former boss Duterte was being arrested. In that post, Bato said that if all legal remedies are exhausted and still justice is to no avail, I am ready to join the old man. In an exclusive interview with News 5, Bato clarified that he is not in hiding but was assigned to handle the motion of certiorari at the Supreme Court. He also expressed sympathy for the former president, saying that he is ready to submit to authorities.
Nahawa ko sa ating Pangulo. Sobra. This government is so oppressive. I can join the old man, hopefully. Makatulong ako doon sa kanya, maalagaan ko siya doon. So, warrant is being served, is to be served, and I'm ready. I'm ready to submit myself to this.
In a separate interview for Aplicante, which was recorded on March 4, Senator De La Rosa challenged the ICC to, quote, bring it on.
Hindi ako natatakot. Bring it on. Basta ako, handa lang ako na just in case mag-issue sila ng warrant of arrest laban sa akin, laban sa amin, I am ready to challenge them before the Supreme Court.
Meanwhile, as discussions continue to circulate about the ICC arrests, a previous statement made by Senator Robin Padilla back in 2023 has resurfaced online. He said, and I quote, "Kung huhulihin nila si Senator Bato de la Rosa, isama na nila ako because he supported Duterte's drug war." Padilla also emphasized that walang iwanan and even joked about prison food abroad tasting better. As of now, there is still no confirmation whether an ICC arrest warrant will be issued for De La Rosa.
The Duterte camp has filed petitions to the Supreme Court to declare the former president's turnover to the International Criminal Court unconstitutional. But for some experts of international law, no Philippine court will now be able to order his return from the ICC. And joining us tonight to discuss this is Attorney Dino De Leon, alumnus at the Hague Academy of International Law and the Georgetown University Law Center. He's also the director of the Human Rights and People Empowerment Center. All right, Attorney, if we may go first to Bato, since we just had a report about his statements. Senator Trillanes says it may take a year before, I don't know the basis for his saying that, before a warrant can be issued in his case. Do you have your own point of view?
As far as we know, the warrant may be forthcoming, because simultaneous, the investigation was simultaneous. In other words, when the witnesses interviewed by the ICC were giving their testimonies, of course, they know that it is because of the war on drugs. But the chief implementer of the war on drugs, it was Senator Bato de la Rosa when in his capacity as PNP chief. So
you don't think it will take that long?
I don't think it will take that long. I hope that it's not going to take that long because as the chief implementer of the violent war on drugs, he cannot get away scot-free. If Duterte is guilty, I think he's also equally guilty.
Can't he just say, though, that...
His actuations were kind of strange today, right? I mean,
His
disappearing for a while.
Well, he said bring it on, but he cannot be found. He said that he's preparing for the petition for certiorari, which they filed. I'm not sure if that was strategic to already include himself because there's no warrant of arrest yet for him. Now that the TRO has been denied, it has also been denied for him, I think, right? So in other words, if the warrant of arrest is issued now, he cannot go to the SC anymore, and then he can already be delivered to The Hague.
But that's what some pundits are saying, as well as some people in the legal profession. They're saying that perhaps mutan academic for former President Duterte, but not for the mga forthcomings. I take that to mean Senator De La Rosa, General Albayalde.
I agree. They will be the ultimate beneficiary. But since he's also a co-petitioner, even though the warrant of arrest was not yet issued, and then it was denied already by the Supreme Court, that means that there is already a denial that applies to him too.
So,
But the
So if it comes out
Failed.
now, then he can be brought to The Hague because, there's no TRO issued for him. And what will he file, even though there's a pending motion for reconsideration, right?
now let's go to former President Duterte. The Malacanang says he will be brought to a local court first before the ICC. What is the process as soon as he arrives at the Rotterdam airport?
Well, at least per the Rome statute, the custodial state must bring him to a local court, right? In this particular case, I think the PNP served the warrant of arrest and turned over custody to the international
Interpol.
police. Right now, the international police has to bring them to a member state's local judicial authority to determine the validity of the arrest. So I think strategically what they did was, considering that we're not a member state, the ICC and the Rome Statute rules no longer binds us, then the more strategic and legal thing to do, and the safer thing to do, I think, is to bring them to him already directly to Netherlands, check with the local courts there before bringing him to the detention facility of the ICC.
So were any of Mr. Duterte's human rights violated in the process?
My humble legal opinion is no, because he was read his rights. The warrant of arrest was given to him eventually because, arresting officers don't have to have it in their pocket all the time. Because when you cascade, let's say, for example, a warrant of arrest, you can't expect all police officers to have it in their pocket. And if they see somebody or if they see you, they can arrest you. They have to subsequently show the warrant of arrest, which was done in the case of President Duterte. There was also a red notice. And in fact, he was given the chance to avail of remedies before the Supreme Court. And prematurely, his lawyers were announcing that there was a TRO. I think that was unethical, right? Pinangungunahan yung Supreme Court. But regardless, wala namang nailabas sa TRO till 11:03, until the airplane flew to Dubai en route to the Netherlands. And then thereafter, even today, the Supreme Court said categorically that they were not able to establish a clear right. What is a clear right being violated when you are being served a legitimate warrant of arrest, which, by the way, the Supreme Court said in a 15-0 decision that the ICC still has jurisdiction over the Philippines for crimes that happened prior to the withdrawal, which are the indicative dates in the complaint.
But the legal team of the former president keep repeating otherwise.
I think there's, to be honest, intellectual dishonesty there, right? The first one is, I was there when the decision of the pre-trial chamber on jurisdiction was read.
Well,
I was in
that?
the ICC.
Take us back. What day was that?
This was sometime in July 2023, and it was read there, and it clearly the ICC already held with the intervention, by the way, of the Philippine government. The Philippine government was the one questioning the jurisdiction of the ICC through the OSG, and the pre-trial chamber said
there was
we
full
have to-
opportunity
Correct.
to question.
the entire machinery of the state, the legals, when they were still in good terms, I think, right?
Before
It was
the
the Philippine government who was questioning that before the breakup. And then thereafter, the ICC said we have jurisdiction. In the Pangilinan case, the Supreme Court said there were still jurisdiction over crimes that happened prior to the effective date of our withdrawal.
Okay.
Meaning to say, it's the Supreme Court, it's the ICC what is the basis of them saying that just because you withdrew, automatically you no longer have binding obligation? That makes it easy for despots to escape international accountability. They will just withdraw and then automatically...
Which was, of course, the reason why we withdrew in the first place, right?
But it's an intellectual dishonesty for lawyers to actually argue an argument like that, even if
When
there's
they
already
know.
a Supreme Court decision.
All right. May we go back to the local court? The former president can argue there and also appeal, or his lawyers can argue for him in that court.
In that local court, no, they can take a look at whether they can ask for interim measures like provisional release. We expect that they will do this because of his old age, for humanitarian reasons. But you know, the local court has to balance that with the following. Number one, let's say, for example, is he a flight risk? Number two, how grave are the accusations against him? In this particular case, it's super grave. It's super grave.
But flight risk?
Flight risk is a little bit, 50-50, I will have to say, because I'm not intellectually dishonest, right? It's 50-50, right? But definitely the gravity. And the third one, the consideration there as well, is whether he will tamper with evidence or he will tamper with the potential witnesses, which I think could be the case. Because we've seen the track record of the Duterte administration wherein they make, complainants back off, right? By threatening them and by tampering pieces of evidence, which is why, for us, it has been difficult to actually prosecute cases because the case records are no longer there. We can't have witnesses. They are threatened by police officers.
They recant their testimony.
Correct. And they don't want to pursue anymore because their lives are at risk. So I think because of those two considerations, I think he should not be given provisional liberty, but they will try, I think.
Do we know which local court it is?
I would suspect it's going to be in the capital, in Amsterdam.
Not to belabor this point, no, Attorney Dino, but some kasi are saying na, okay, all the crimes, no, there's no argument na up until March 2019 when we removed ourselves from the ICC, talagang valid yun, covered, no arguments there. But the arrest happened, nawala na tayo sa Rome Statute, and therefore there's kind of this back and forth about mag-a-apply pa ba itong rules, hindi na ba itong mag-a-apply? Yes, apply siya sa crimes before, but dun sa arrest part, na parang may extradition pa dapat ba? Ano ba talaga? What's the bottom line?
The arrest kasi is being issued because the court has jurisdiction over the subject matter, right? But when it comes to the rules that the Philippine government will follow, hindi siya applicable na kasi wala na ako eh. Pero because that is procedural. Procedural rules is prospective. In other words, the moment I withdraw, it's no longer binding from me. But for substantive, ibig sabihin yung very essence of the law, that is retroactive, right? In the reading of the law, in the construction of the law. So when it comes to our obligations, substantive obligations, the indicative dates are still there. But in terms of whether the rules are still binding, from the moment that we drew forward, it's no longer going to be binding to us.
Can the former president ask the ICC to bring him back to the Philippines because his rights were violated? Is that a possibility at all?
He can ask the ICC. He can ask the ICC. I think he will try. But I really, to be fair, much unlike how the Philippine National Police behaved during the past administration, to be honest, a killing machine. In this particular instance, the Philippine National Police was very professional, right? There was no indication of violence. It was surgical, it was swift, it was very professional. Kitty Duterte was cursing them to their faces, but they kept their cool. And they read the Miranda rights to President Duterte. They gave them the warrant. They treated them properly.
It was quite a swift operation.
Yeah, there was a medical team that checked on his condition.
He's being fed fried rice in the plate.
Yeah, so I think he was actually treated very humanely. This is in stark contrast to the victims of the drug war, right?
Okay, well, attorney, let's talk about what happens when the president reaches The Hague in the Netherlands. It will be the pre-trial stage, right? And there are 6 steps to that. The first will be the first appearance. What happens there, and how soon can we expect that to happen?
Forthwith. That's a very...
We all know what that means now.
That's a
Please,
very
we all know what it means.
contentious term now.
Definition of this word.
But it is immediate, right?
Immediate.
Immediately, right after the proceedings in the local court, right? He will be brought to the detention center, and forthwith he will be doing the preliminary appearance. In the preliminary appearance, his rights will be read to him. The charges against him will be read to him, right? And then his identity will be verified. Okay, so that's just preliminary appearance, of course.
What can halt that forthwith procedure? Immediate procedure? Medical emergency,
Medical
perhaps?
emergencies, or maybe...
Wala nang ligo-ligo, diretso na.
uh,
Sorry, I have to...
Meron naman reasonable time. Basta siguro hindi masyadong malalang delay, no? The second one, after that, within 60 to 90 days, they will schedule the confirmation hearings. Itong confirmation hearings, again, grabe yung steps ng ICC. Iba yung issuance of warrant of arrest. In our local system, pag issue ng warrant of arrest, arraignment, prepare for trial. Dito, issue of warrant of arrest based on substantial evidence to believe that a crime has happened.
As a suspect, diba?
As a suspect, and then issue ka na warrant. And then may confirmation hearings pa ulit yung pre-trial chamber to check whether trial should pursue based on substantial evidence to believe. So, mas mataas sa quantum of evidence required. No? Hindi pa siya proof beyond reasonable doubt, substantial evidence to believe pa, but it is higher than reasonable grounds to believe. No? In the issuance of the warrant, it was only the prosecutor who participated and sought for the issuance of the warrant doon sa pre-trial chamber. In this confirmation hearings, magpa-participate na yung witnesses, yung complainants, and even the accused.
So maghaharap sila.
So para siyang mini-hearing. The witnesses.
Who are now in custody somewhere.
Supposedly, right? And then if the prosecution is able to establish that the quantum of evidence required, which is substantial evidence to believe that the crime has been committed, the pre-trial chamber will order that the trial will ensue. And then hindi na yung pre-trial chamber. May bago na namang set of judges who will do the trial. Can you imagine the several layers, the due process, which is all of a sudden
Checking.
They are
Checking.
obsessed with due process.
Yeah,
I used the wrong word, custody. I meant in a safe house, no? They're kept in a safe house.
So three new judges, right? So we had 3 female judges na nakita na natin yung picture nila.
that's a
all over.
pre-trial chamber.
That's a pre-trial. And then the next step, another 3.
Yeah, another set of judges. And then actually, in the Philippine setting, di ba, after kung na-acquit ka, tapos na. Right? Kasi may constitutional
jeopardy.
prescription against double jeopardy. In the proceedings of the International Criminal Court, almost automatic yung appeal. So meron ka na namang dadaan ng appeal. Either the accused or the prosecution can appeal.
Kahit
right?
na-acquit?
Kahit na-acquit. Why? Because they, based on their, may double jeopardy pa rin sila, but it only starts after the appeal process. In other words, after the appeal process, in-acquit ka pa rin, you can no longer file any case.
Okay.
Right? But it's a fundamental part of the entire process for them. In other words, it's not a separate and distinct process from the entire line. So, and that's going to be the appeals chamber. So, kitang-kita mo, there's due process, which is all of a sudden important in this country.
Tapos may backup siya lagi.
I want to ask a last question before we let you go, attorney. Should this government, because what about the police that participated in this war on drugs? Should a body be formed to do the investigation and to charge?
That's a very good
them?
question, and that's really something that I think must be discussed. No, when a country, a nation experiences mass atrocity of this gradient, of this latitude, we're all somewhat traumatized. We're all somewhat injured, and it's difficult for us as a nation to recover from it. More so the victims. Imagine 30,000 people, if the data is correct.
There
So
has to be some form.
there has to be what
justice,
we
no?
call in international law or in the academic world what we call transitional justice mechanisms. So I'll just briefly
Sige,
discuss these 3
quickly,
things.
quickly.
Right? The first one is there has to be some sort of compensation and assistance to the victims and their families. Right now, they're left on their own. There are no resources given to them to allow them to recover. bahala na kung may volunteer, bahala na yung simbahan. That
Yung mga
shouldn't be the
remains
case.
pa nga daw, kailangan minsan kunin sa sementeryo dahil walang pambayad.
Tapos paano yung trauma ng mga anak, ng pamilya, yung nakita na binaril sa harapan nila. Maraming ganun. No one is taking a look at them, right? So in transitional justice mechanisms, we have to assist them in their recovery. Number two, we have to discuss as a nation what happened, and we have to have a consensus on that this is wrong. And we will commit that we will never do it
I
again.
remember the Truth Commission that never happened.
The Truth Commission.
After-
And it has to be documented, by the way. Why? Because the third part of transitional justice is memorialization. It is important for us to pass on the knowledge to the next generation. There has to be, if you've been to Holocaust museums all over the world, there has to be like memorials, right? There has to be a commitment from our country or from our nation, each one of us, that these things should never happen again. I think that a lot of the discourse are whether Marcos and Duterte, the infightings. I think the discourse now has to be, what about the victims? How can we
Yes.
assist them? We have to
Yes.
have those transitional
It's
justice
no longer the
mechanisms.
political.
Those are most
battle.
important, right? And we shouldn't miss the forest for the trees. Ultimately, the reason why we're doing this is because there are victims who are advocating for them, right? Usually we
Is
discuss
an
the
Applecom
politics.
not enough?
The Applecom is not enough because they're involved. They're involved, right? Remember, it was the state that is involved. It's the entire machinery of the Philippine National Police. And that's the reason why they should be part of the process of accountability, which is the Truth Commission, by the way. I think we're unwilling and unable to prosecute President Duterte and Bato de la Rosa, but we should be willing and able to prosecute the lower ones. So the Department of Justice should forthwith file cases and investigate the lower ones who were involved in the drug operation.
But should not the president form a body, a higher
The
body
Truth
that
Commission.
will focus, that will have just focusing on these cases?
I think it's the legislature. That should be the natural conclusion of the Quadcom, because this will require budget, this will require subpoena powers, etc., etc. I think that should be the conclusion of the Quadcom.
Well,
On a
Attorney-
different topic. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, there.
So,
That's cute.
well, you are an alumnus of the Hague Academy of International Law. And surprisingly, we got videos from Reuters and the Associated Press showing some demonstrations or protests. And there were, in fact, videos for pro-Duterte and anti-Duterte. Here are some of them.
Justice now! Justice now! And we are here to this for the thousands of
Is that a usual sight outside?
You know, the Hague is it's what we call the Center of International Law. So there are a lot of organizations there. They were fast, right?
Yeah.
Right after, even before Duterte's there, they're already able
Before
to
he arrived,
mobilize.
yeah.
And if you can see, they know it's in support of the ICC proceedings. I was expecting that a while ago. We were trying to verify what's the information, right? I said it's probably supporting the proceedings, and it appears like the pictures.
Pero
are-
baluarte ng mga Duterte ang OFWs. Right?
Well, they
And
can
they're all-
demonstrate too,
Yeah.
but ultimately, President Duterte must face the consequences of his actions. He must face the accountability forthwith.
That word again.
Is that why
We should not, this is no laughing matter, but you know, it's been fascinating talking to you. Thank you so much. Attorney Dino De Leon, Director of the Human Rights and People Empowerment Center and alumnus at the Hague Academy of International Law.
Time to pause for another quick breather, but right after that, a priest that was charged for sedition during the Duterte administration is hailing the former president's arrest. We have that story next. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
Here's the latest on the health condition of Pope Francis, who's now almost a month in hospital. The Vatican says that he had a restful night and he is still slightly improving from his double pneumonia diagnosis. The pontiff continues to receive high-flow oxygen therapy and is following spiritual exercises via video link from his hospital room. Doctors say that his prognosis is no longer guarded, but he will remain in the hospital for ongoing care. Yesterday, the Vatican said Pope Francis is already out of danger from death. Tomorrow, March 13, Francis will mark his 12th anniversary as Pope.
Meanwhile, religious leaders are speaking out on the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte on an ICC warrant. Vienna-based Jesuit priest Father Albert Alejo considers March 11 a day of reckoning and a moment that families of alleged EJK victims thought would never come. Morning Matters host Gretchen Ho is still in Europe and she filed this report.
Father Albert Alejo was in shock Tuesday morning as he woke up to news he did not expect.
When I opened my cell phone at 6 a.m. here in Vienna, I was pleasantly surprised, but I was not able to capture immediately my own emotion. So I've been expecting this. I've been praying for this. Now it's happening. It's kind of still surprising. Ibang matagal mo hinihintay, matagal mo pinagtrabahuan, pero nung dumating, medyo magugulat ka pa rin.
Alejo is one of the priests who was vocal during the Duterte administration, speaking out against the war on drugs, advocating for human rights, and serving as a voice for the victims of extrajudicial killings.
Nakausap niyo na po ba sila lately?
Siyempre, mas malayo ako eh. May mga text-text lang.
Ano
Medyo
po sabi?
ingit nga ako doon sa mga malapit doon. Pero siyempre, merong mga chat groups. Oo. Na mangyak-ngyak. Sinasabi, Father, naiyak ako sa mga nangyari. Sana tuloy-tuloy na to.
He also admitted on Morning Matters that he took care of some ICC witnesses, including whistleblowers Edgar Matobato and Arturo Las Cañas, hitmen from the Davao Death Squad.
Si Edgar Matobato at saka si Arturo Las Cañas, kamusta po lagay nila ngayon?
Nakalabas na sila ng bansa. No? Finally. So, ano na yun? Hawak na sila ng ICC na mga witness protection program.
For taking care of them, Alejo even got his own death threats.
Kami nila, Father Flavi. Yung mga ganun. So,
Father Robert.
doon sa party, meron ding death threat si Robert. Swerte pa nga kami, may threat lang kami. Yung iba, wala nang threat, pinatay na diretso eh. May sinasabi na papatayin kita, alam namin may tinatago ka.
When asked how confident he is over the buildup of the case against former President Rodrigo Duterte at the International Criminal Court, Father Albert says there's a rich collection of evidence from the first 7 months of the Duterte administration.
Yung unang 7 months, yung unang 7 buwan, nung humihingi ang mga journalist ng mga police reports, ang Philippine National Police, maluwag na maluwag, nagbibigay sila ng police report. Pinagmamagaling kasi nila yun noon eh. Meron talaga mga ebidensya na galing mismo sa police. May mga dagdag dito. Ano pa? Siyempre, wala namang volunteer killers eh. Bayad yan eh. So, kailangan mo i-trace yung money flow. Meron ding nakuhang mga materials tungkol dyan.
It will be a long journey as the 3 judges of the pre-trial chamber will first have to go through a stage to determine if there's enough evidence to proceed to an actual trial, a process that could take at least 2 months. In time for the Lenten season, Father Albert had a message for the Filipino Catholic faithful.
Harapin natin yung katotohanan na hindi isang tao lang may kasalanan dito. Isang buong lipunan na pumalakpak. Yung mga kamay na may dugo sa ating mga kamay, mga palakpak pa sa mga pagpatay. Ngayon, siguro mahal na araw. Ewan ko, nag-imbita ka ng pari, di may konting sermon. Mahal na araw,
kailangan natin isang pambansang pagdagok sa dibdib. Pambansang mea culpa. Walang pinabayaan natin ito eh. Maghugas ng kamay at maghugas ng puso.
Time for our big picture tonight, which is the Manila International Airport Authority, or MIAA's new logo that is fetching quite a lot of comments from netizens. MIA dropped its new logo in celebration of its 43rd anniversary, featuring a Philippine eagle, a green laurel wreath, and 3 stars and a sun. These symbolize values of safety, efficiency, and global connectivity. However, this design did not exactly connect with people online. On Facebook, the MIA post was flooded with comments, with some calling the design just plain off. Others said they preferred the old logo, while several raised concerns about legibility and scalability. Online artists were also quick to point out that the eagle resembles a design that can be bought on stock websites for just $15 US. The backlash was so intense that MIA has limited the comment section of that post. And as per MIA's annual procurement plan for 2025, it has a budget of 3 million pesos for its rebranding campaign, 2 million of which goes to creative design services and social media content creation. What do you think? Do you like it? Because I like the old one.
I like the old one.
Yeah,
too.
the old one.
Yeah.
You know, why waste money on all these logos?
Instead
Why?
of fixing
begs the question.
services.
Well, there's a 2 million budget.
Goodness.
So,
what a waste of money.
exactly. Or, where does that
Sorry,
money...
I have to join the chorus.
you don't like... So, there's been a lot of memes nga, no? So, the first PAGCOR, di ba?
Yeah.
And then, ano pa ba yung nandun?
Why?
BSP.
Di ba, what's that,
The DOT.
saying? Don't
Change.
change.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes.
Because you know what? We might be broke in our budget. Ang mahala, 2 million.
Kaya nga!
And it's funny because they turned off the comment section. So that's how you know, diba? Pag you don't want to have any negativity or hate in your page.
Ay,
Turn
diba?
off the comment section.
Yung last logo kasi, hindi siya bagay dun sa dating airport system natin na magulo. Napaka-modern
Okay.
Yung MNL.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah,
But it's nice.
it's nice, simple. I know.
Ay, nako. On that ay nako note, that's it for the big story tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for watching. Good night.
Do stay tuned because coming up next is Play-by-Play with Andre Felix and Denise Tan. What do you guys have for us today?
Boss,
It's
good
Wednesday.
Evening po. Good evening po. Wala naman. Gusto ko lang una banggitin, I like the haircut of Madam Cesar.
Oh!
Shout out Tony and Guy.
Yes, your ninang cherry.
Ninang Che, Ninang Chot.
Alam mo, Andre, kala ko noong una ready na ako eh. Sean, I like your hair.
Ikaw rin, Sean. Nice haircut.
Sige, Sean, nice haircut. Thank you, Christine, the makeup artist.
Pawi ko ba nagpagupit? Nagpagupit ka ba?
Wala eh, wala eh.
Maganda pa rin yung hair mo.
Yeah.
Thank you, Denise.
also
You're so
Christine, the makeup artist. But thank you once again. Great show as always to the ladies of the big story. Of course, to Cess, to Sean, and to Pauline. On Play-by-Play tonight, we've got the Cleveland Cavaliers winning 15 in a row again, Denise, this season. Plus highlights from WNBA superstar Sabrina Ionescu's final day here in the Philippines.
And we've also got results from a full day of volleyball with games in the UAP and the Spikers turf.
I'm Andre Falek.